A company that manufactures small canoes has a fixed cost of $20,000. It costs $40 to produce each canoe. The selling price is $80 per canoe. If we let C of x represent the total cost to produce x units and R of x represent the total revenue on the sale of x units, which of the following systems of equations could be used to find the break-even point, the point where revenue is equal to cost? Find the break-even point by solving the system of equations. Let's first of all make a table of values to get a better understanding of the problem. First, we'll determine the cost and the revenue for 0 canoes. To determine the cost, we need to recall that the company has fixed cost of $20,000 and it costs $40 to produce each canoe. So even if we don't build any canoes, it still costs $20,000. To determine the revenue, we need to recall that the selling price is $80 per canoe. So we need to multiply $80 by the number of canoes sold. 80 times 0 is 0, so the revenue from 0 canoes is 0. What if 100 canoes are produced and sold? To determine the cost, we would start off with a $20,000 fixed cost, and then to that we would need to add $40 per canoe. Since there are 100 canoes produced, the variable cost would be 40 times 100. That comes out to $24,000. To determine the revenue, we need to multiply the number of canoes 100 by $80 per canoe. That comes out to $8,000. If 200 canoes are produced and sold, then the cost will be $20,000 plus 40 times 200. That comes out to $28,000. The corresponding revenue would be 80 times 200. That comes out to $16,000. Notice that in each of these three cases, the cost is more than the revenue. Therefore, the company will have a net loss. However, the net loss is becoming less and less. Our goal is to determine where does the company break even? Where do the cost and the revenue equal the same amount? To answer this question, we want to come up with general expressions for the cost and the revenue. So we use the pattern that we've developed in the table. In order to find the cost, we take $20,000 and then add 40 times whatever the input is. So if we have an arbitrary number of items that are produced and sold, X items, then the cost will be $20,000 plus 40 times X. And to find the revenue, we always take $80 per canoe and then multiply by the number of canoes. So the revenue for an arbitrary number of canoes is 80X. So C of x is equal to 20,000 plus 40x, and R of x is equal to 80x. To find the break-even point, we want to find the point where the cost and the revenue are equal to each other. In other words, we need to solve the equation C of x is equal to R of x. To solve this equation, we'll substitute 20,000 plus 40x for C of x and 80x for R of x. We get 20,000 plus 40x is equal to 80x. To solve this equation, first of all, take 40x away from both sides. We get 20,000 is equal to 40x. Finally, divide both sides by 40, and we get x is equal to 500. So the company will break even if they produce and sell 500 canoes. To determine the corresponding cost and revenue for 500 canoes, we can substitute 500 for x in our two functions. C of 500 is 20,000 plus 40 times 500, which is 40,000. R of 500 is equal to 80 times 500, which is also 40,000. So the break-even point is 540,000. The correct answer to this exercise is E.